Hi there, I'm Elizabeth with Ellie's Handcrafted Jewelry, and welcome to my channel where I share tips, tricks, and tutorials for those looking to learn the art of wire wrapping and wire weaving. And today I'm going to be showing you how to create this built-in coil pendant. And it is just like it sounds. This pendant features a built-in coil that is built on the frame wires themselves, rather than more of like a component-based pendant. If you'd like to learn more about those, I do have a YouTube video you can check down in the description or a tag here. But this one is like your typical wire-wrapped pendant or your wire-woven pendant. In the sense that it uses 3 basic frame wires, but you actually add the coil to one of those frame wires. Now, if you're one of those people that likes video tutorials, but you like to have written instructions to follow along, I highly recommend checking out my website. I have one available for sale that is the exact same tutorial, but it's the written version, so you can actually download that on my website. I'll leave a link in the description below where you can find that. And if you're excited to jump into this video, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on future tutorials like this one. And let's go ahead and say a quick thank you to our sponsor, Dance.
Before we get started, I'd like to thank Dance for sponsoring this video. Dance is a gem seller located in the United States and has a variety of high-quality stones. Search by gemstone, shape, size, quality, and more to find the perfect stone for your project. I've left a link in the description below to their website as well as their Facebook page so that you can stay up to date on any new arrivals or sales.
So for tools and materials, you're going to need a stone of your choosing, which mine is a teardrop shape. This is a silver sheen obsidian. You're also going to need 20 gauge wire cut into 3 segments. You're just going to add the diameter of your stone and add 7 inches to that measurement. In that case, this was 3 inches all the way around, so I added 7 inches for a total of 10 inches, so 10-inch segments of 20 gauge wire. And then for the coil distance, it's about this is better explained in my written tutorial, which I'll leave a link to, but so to determine the amount of coil that you need, in this case, for 20 gauge being the base wire and 22 gauge being wrapped around it, it takes about 1 inch of 22 gauge wire to make a 1/4 inch of coil. So I've multiplied that by the amount that I need to do, which is 1.5 inches. It came out with 6 inches of coil, so I added 2 inches to that measurement. That makes it a total of 8-inch segments of 22 gauge wire for this particular stone that I need. I'm going to go ahead and write the formula down in the description below so that way you have something to kind of reference. But that's how I determined coil. Aside from stone, of course, you're going to need some chain nose pliers, flesh cutters, and a ruler. If you need to determine the size of your stone, you can use something like masking tape. Just wrap it around the stone and then pull it off, and then that'll give you the measurement for that. And you may or may not need some round nose pliers as well. And of course, you'll need a Sharpie. So I got my 10-inch segments here. I'm just going to pull them apart a little bit. And grab my ruler here and set it down. Let's see, lay it right there. And I'm just going to mark the center. Just like that. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and mark 1/4 inch on either side, just so I have a reference point for my weaving. Grab some of my weaving wire here. I'm just going to pull these off to the side. Something like that. Just knowing where my marks are here. And I'm going to just wrap this base wire around the bottom wire 3 times to get the weave started. 1, 2, 3. Turn these around so I can reference it. And from there, I'm going to wrap the wire around the 2 bottom base wires 1 time. Then bring that wire in between those two woven wires. Then up and over the top two base wires. Then bringing that wire in between those two base wires. The top two base wires, not the bottom two. There we go. Sorry, my wire is getting tangled here. There we go. So you can see, and just wrapped around that top wire again. Now I'm going to wrap around the bottom wire one time, then up and around the top two, or the bottom two base wires one time, then in between those two wires, like so, and then up and around the top two, then around the top one. That's a modified sumac weave, and that's what we're going to use to weave from point A to point B. And once we're done, we can move on to the next step. All right, now that I've reached the end here, I'm just going to wrap this wire around the bottom base wire a couple more times to secure it, secure the weave, like so. And I'm just going to do a little pull and twist. Make sure that if you're doing the pull and twist method, just make sure that the force is being directed towards the spot that's in between the wires. So a lot of times what I'll see is people like twisting kind of like this or something. What ends up happening is it breaks off early rather than where it's supposed to. So just pull and twist, making sure that the focus is on the wire in between the base wires. Like that, so that way you get more of a clean break. And do the same with the other side. Like so. All right, so now we have our frame wires, and now it's time to getting to work on the coil. So we're going to set this aside, grab one of our coil wires. This is the 22 gauge wire. And let's see. Losing my wire here. So I'll back up a little bit here. So I'm going to start here at the end, so about an inch in. And I'm just going to start wrapping the wire. And no, we're not going to just continue doing this, because trust me, doing this to create your coil will take forever. So I'm just setting it on there, and then I'm going to scoot it down just a tiny little bit. Oops. I'm going to bend it down into like an L shape. I'm going to continue wrapping around a little bit until I get more onto the top flat part of the wire here, bigger L part. Okay. Once we get about here, I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to hold our wire down. And this is a quicker method. We're just going to turn the wire. So as you can see, I'm turning the wire with this end with my right hand, holding the wire carefully with my left hand. And this will take some practice, but once you get the hang of it, it goes so much faster. And you can adjust and figure out a spot that's easiest for you to hold the wire. And just turn and turn, like so. Oops. Now it might double back a little bit. So you gotta pull, just give enough tension, so that way it's pulling where it's supposed to. Hold the wire down. Like so. And just keep going until you have 6 inches worth. Now once it starts getting long though, you're going to notice that it's going to start to wobble more. So I'm going to scrunch down my coil a little bit. And
then what I'm going to do is bend this back out and then bend this in closer to where the wire is, so that way it has a little bit more integrity and strength. It doesn't wobble as much. And just keep turning. And this is a lot faster than trying to hand wind it. You can also use a drill. I personally don't like to use drills. They scare me a little bit. I'm just not as precise with my work yet, and there's more to fix if you use a drill, and it doubles back on itself. So this method works well enough for me, so I just do this when I need to make coils. Now when I get to the end, I don't usually cut the wire off directly here. I'll actually cut off a little bit of a tail, so if I need to add more coil, I can. So I'm just going to cut off about 6 to 8 inches worth of tail, so if I need to continue wrapping, I can. And now I'm just going to go on to the other coil and go ahead and complete them both, and then I'll meet you back here. Alright, so now that I got my coil, I'm going to clean this up a little bit here. Pull that up. And just cut off that end. And tuck it in with my pliers. And do the same thing with my other coil real quick. Like so. Now it's time to grab our frame piece again. And we're going to start on one side. So we're just going to pull aside one wire and the other wire. You're also going to notice this is going to be the side facing down. So if you turn it over, this is the side that's going to be sitting against the stone, or at least on the inside of the frame here. And I'm just going to grab one of my coils and place it in here. I'm going to hold it with my left hand and begin to wrap it around gently with my right. So wrapping it around. Move that out of the way more you can. It's a little awkward at first, but then once you get it on there, it gets easier. Okay. And now we're just gonna pull that aside. Oops. Okay. Scoot that down to the bottom. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and just finish this off first. Doesn't that sound like a smart idea? Alright. Turn this off. I'm not going to tighten it right there though, because otherwise I can't slide it back down. I'm going to slide it back down where it meets the end there. And I'm just going to continue wrapping this up until I reach 1.5 inches. Now the coil, as you continue to wrap it, that coil is going to scoot up a little bit. So if you end up having excess, that's not a problem. Just keep wrapping. I'm just trying to keep that as tight as possible because I'm going to come back through and inlay it, I guess, with another 28 gauge piece of wire.
You can see mine's already kind of scooting off the end. And if it starts to scoot up a little bit, you can push it down with your pliers gently because you don't want to break the weaving wire. But I want to be tight together. Grab my ruler. So I'm right about at 1/2 inch. I'll wrap that around again. And I'm just going to pull off this excess wire here. And trim that off. Tuck it in, best that I can, and wrap this around the base wire to finish it off. So there's one coil. To finish off the coil, I'm just going to run some weaving wire up, around, and through it. Let's make sure it's sitting nice and neat, like it's supposed to. Oh, before I do that, I didn't tuck that in. So I'm going to tuck that in real quick. Let's see if I can find my weaving wire. Let's see, which direction do I want to go? Because we want to go the same direction. You can see we are placing the wire in the little gaps as we coil up. Just following it along up the wire. It's hard to see through the camera, sorry everybody. And I am sorry for any background noise as well. I have my heater going. Keep me warm these winter months. Alright, so when you get to the top, just wrap through, wrap around. Just keep wrapping till you get to the top, and then wrap 3 times to finish off the coil. And just trim. Tuck in. And do the same down here since I didn't really do that to start. I probably should have. There we go. Grab my pliers. Got this tiny little piece. There we go. Trim that off. Tuck that in. And then that's one coil down. Oop. Looks like I skipped a gap though. I skipped a gap. That's okay. All right, move on to the other side. So put these back up where they belong, turn around, and just do the same thing on the opposite side. All right, so once we get to this point and we have our coils all done, you can see they're all built in. And so now we just need to start getting our stones set. But before we do that, I'm going to take my flat nose pliers, or you can use your chain nose pliers, set them on the side, and then just bend straight up. Doing your best to keep it even. So we got a nice little angled shape there. I'm going to grab my stone, rest it there on the mat there, and just kind of use this to kind of help guide and figure out the shape. Oops. And this bend out towards the back. And with this piece, I'm just going to follow along. Just inside of the coil. This is going to help secure the stone. Sorry everybody, my heater died. Okay, so come in like that. I'm going to go ahead and straighten these out too. Use my stone, kind of figure out where I am. Okay. Sit somewhere in there. Now you got these, you can see they're interlaced a little bit here, so I can kind of adjust them to feel out where I want everything to be. Don't want this to be in further. Oops. Don't lose your stone. And if you have labradorite, don't drop it on the floor. So many tears I've cried over broken labradorite. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and bend these up now. Not quite center. So something like that. And I don't have the back set up yet either, so I'm just going to pop that back out. Straighten these, holding them gently. And I need these sitting next to each other. Okay, so there's my frame. Now I'm going to grab my weaving wire. Going to wrap it around, oops, actually I want to wrap it around the back wire. So find the back base wire here, feed it through, and then wrap it around 3 times to start. I'm going to hold these wires together best that I can. Since they're round wires, they're not going to sit next to each other perfectly, and that's okay. And then wrap this around minimum 3 times. Find that same wire I started with and wrap around it 1 time. So they should all be held together about something like that, and we can adjust these wires as we go as well. So nothing is set in stone yet, and the stone's not set yet. Okay, then see if I can pull off this little piece of wire. And now I'm going to separate wires, so 2 on either side. Oops, I can separate these. Just have 2 on either side. And then 2 straight up, which are going to be the 2 that we're going to weave together to create the bail. So I'm just going to bend that over a little bit so I have some room to weave. I already wove around one, so I'm going to weave around both of them 1 time. And bring that wire in between. Oops. Then up and around. So we're doing the modified sumac weave, but just with 2 wires. Down and around the 1 wire, then around both wires 1 time, then bring that in between the 2 wires, and up and over around the top wire, and down and around the bottom base wire again, then around both base wires, and in between those 2 base wires, and up and over and back down and around to create our sumac weave. And we're just going to weave about 1 inch of that to create our bail. So continuing. So once around both, bring it in between, and up and over and down and around the bottom base wire 1 time, and again. Around both, in between, and up and over and down and around the bottom base wire again. So just do that until you reach 1 inch. Alright, so after I've actually woven probably a little bit more than 1 inch, probably 1 1/4 inches. And now I'm going to step my stone and stick my stone in here. And come over here, turn it over. Grab my pliers and gently bend over. Do the same on the opposite side. Not the most beautiful there. See if we can even that out a little bit. Okay, so that is set. And if you need to, you can always scrunch that a little bit too. But the tip looks like it's fine. And so now here you can see that these are a little loose, a little looser than I like. So I'm going to bring this up next to it. And I'm going to take the wires that would be like that, and see, these wires haven't been secured, so you can actually pull on them a little bit if you need to kind of pull them more into place. Okay. Now it might still be a little loose, and that's okay because these wires are going to help support that. So now I'm going to separate these wires again. And
And I'm going to bend this forward, like so. And if you want extra security for your bail, you can also wrap this around a couple times. So I've wrapped it around the bail portion. Just bring this up and then wrap it around one of the wires 3 times. And then just either pull and twist or cut off the wire, like so. And from here, I'm going to gently create some kind of figure over the top. Something like that. Then I'm going to bring the wire through the bottom portion here. And secure it there to the side. Do the same with this side. So as you can see, it's gone around towards the back, then up, through, and over the top. So I'm going to do the same with this side. So bringing it through, gently up and over the top. And pressing it in. So you have something that looks like that. And now I'm going to coil some more wire. So I'm going to separate that, grab my weaving wire. And I'm just going to wrap it around the top, one of the top wires. I'm going to do this to both top wires here. And just coil, 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 coil. You can scrunch as you go. And coil some more. Now, you don't have to coil very tight, because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to scrunch this back down to the bottom, because I find it's easier to wrap it up here and then scoot it down than it is to start down there. So just a little trick for you. So I'm creating a coil, better known as a single coil, because these are actually double coils, maybe even triple. Anyway, so I'm going to pull that up out of the way, scrunch that down to the bottom, and then continue coiling. Alright, so now that I've coiled both sides, I'm going to go ahead and pull off any excess wire here. Alright, so now that I got that all done and all coiled, now it's on to the finishing touches. So I'm going to start with the coiled wire and just bend it over, something like this. And I don't want to go quite over to the other side, because I'm going to do the same thing on the other side here. So I'm just going to kind of follow it down towards the back. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this off. I left a tail piece in case I needed it, but it goes behind the piece, so it is okay to pull it off. And like before, I'm just going to bring it alongside the first wire. So gently bringing that down, then up and over. And I'll tuck that in a second, but at least it's going to hold it for me. Then I'm going to do the same thing with this side. Bring it over. Oops. Give it some shape with my nail here. And bring it down and around. Using my nails to kind of add some shape to it. Go ahead and pull off the excess there. Okay. And then direct that through just like I did the other one. So up through the center of the piece here at the bottom, holding it with my thumb here so it doesn't go out of place too much. Oops. And up and over. Last but not least, we have this wire. So I'm going to bring it around, and you can do something really cool, like you could go over the top, or you can go around the side. It's totally up to you what you'd like to do, as long as it comes back over top of that one. And grab that, stick it through, making sure it comes alongside. Just like that. So now you can see there's this nice piece here. And trim these off. Tuck them in a little bit. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this final side here. If I can get it to shape the way I want it to. Now it's kind of shaped where I want it. I'm going to go ahead and bring it through the same route. Holding it down with my thumb so it doesn't move while I tuck that in. Like that. And then trim off these extra wires. Oops. All right. I'm gonna bend those in a little bit and tuck them in. All right, so here's the finished piece. Now we got our stone in here. It is locked away safely. And that's it. That's how you add a built-in coil to your pendants.
And I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions at all, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below as I try to get them as quickly as I can. You're also welcome to join the Learn to Weave newsletter where I share tips, tricks, and other tutorials, as well as sending out anything as far as sales going on my website and such. You're also welcome to join the Facebook group, which is available for free for those who are wanting to reach out to other artisans like themselves and share and grow. And again, if you're looking for the written tutorial that goes along with this video, I've left a link in the description below where you can find that. And until next time, happy weaving!